Building a PC in this economy? Well, let's talk about it. Hello, everyone. Tim here from Cat Herder Tech, and we're here to talk about building a PC. One of my personal passions. I love dealing with PCs, building PCs, picking out parts, pricing stuff out. Heck, I will regularly be checking out the prices of things, looking at new PC parts, looking at ways to build, trying to fit things under budget. It's definitely a fun little puzzle. And unfortunately, it has gotten, super expensive right now. So I figured I was going to talk a little bit about ways you can kind of beat the system, get things a little bit cheaper, possibly, what you should be expecting for your budget, maybe ways to kind of plan out your parts. It's not going to be super comprehensive. I'm not going to tell you to buy this part here or buy that part there, or even what's the best part for your budget. That's probably for different videos. That said, if you're actually interested in having me help you build out a PC, I can certainly do that for you. Heck, I can even build a PC for you. I'm certainly willing to sell my service for that, a very reasonable price. Hit me up in my Discord down below, or if you just want to ask questions about buying a pre-built, I am open to talking about some of that stuff as well. And you know what? If it's something that is relevant to a lot of other people, I can certainly talk about it on a video, making recommendations for certain pre-builts as well. So appreciate comments down below. If you're interested in this sort of stuff, let me know. But let's talk about some of the tools you can use to plan out your build in 2026. So one of the first places to check out here is PC Part Picker. PC Part Picker is a great place for you to scout out what pieces you might want. If you don't know an awful lot about what you might be looking for, well, they actually have some build guides down here that talk about what the prices are. These things have been crowdsourced by multiple people. I think they do this over Reddit. I'm not 100% sure, but they have different price points here. As you can see, this is an entry-level AMD gaming build, an excellent gaming streaming build, and of course, a magnificent gaming streaming build as well. And these are not lockdown things where you buy that and that is what you must do, but they give you a guide for something to start with if you're looking for some place to start. Otherwise, if you go up here, you can certainly look at trends. You can see some pricing trends on the prices of things in general. As you can see, memory here has gone up significantly over the past 6 months or so. In fact, memory has gone from a price where you could get a decent kit for $100 to that same kit costing about $400 now. Prices of RAM have quadrupled. It's really kind of gross. Meanwhile, monitors have actually significantly gotten cheaper over recent time. CPUs, kind of about the same. Power supplies haven't really changed that much. Storage has certainly continued to get more and more expensive. In fact, it looks like storage has spiked up even more grossly recently. And video cards, not in a great spot. So is this a great time to buy a computer or build a computer? Unfortunately, it's not. But if you don't actually have this stuff, well, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So let's figure out one of the things you can do to make the most use of a tool like this. So we're going to go into the builder right here, and this is where you can choose a CPU, for example, and it gives you an idea of where the prices are on these CPUs, and you can certainly sort by price and take a look at the cheapest ones, but honestly, not all these are going to be good options. You're not looking for an i3 6th gen processor. Nobody is in this market. So you can limit yourself a little bit. There's plenty of ways to select things right here. So you can select different AMDs over here in the corner right above my head. Some of these things you can pick out. So maybe you want to look at the Intel Core series. Maybe you even want to look at the Intel Core Ultra series. So some of the newer ones right there. And of course, looking at some of the AMD Ryzen's probably not a bad idea as well. Plenty of different options here for you. And now, well, still hasn't gotten rid of some of this really, really old stuff, so we can look at a little more and clean up some of this stuff. Otherwise, you can certainly maybe just assume that, hey, if I'm going to spend some money, I'm probably going to spend at least $80 on a processor, so we'll limit ourselves to $75 to $80, and now we can certainly see things that are just a little more reasonable. First thing that really seems even mildly reasonable here is the 12100F for $89. Honestly, a lot of the rest of this stuff is really kind of old and really kind of compromised. And these are other things you can do too. If you know what you're doing, you can certainly select by different sockets. That will certainly help as well. So if we select here AM4 and AM5, that's only going to give us some of the latest AMG And if we do LGA 1851 and 1700, that'll give us the latest Intels as well. Now we're still seeing some older Ryzens as well. In fact, I can probably just drop the price off this as well and see what we get. You know, yes, we're still now looking at the 1200F, but now the Ryzen 550 500 shows up more prominently here as well. That's certainly a budget option for a lot of people as well. But it's certainly refreshing to be able to see that you can get some of these prices on CPUs. And yeah, 1400F may not sound like it's a great CPU, but honestly, some of these i3s are perfectly fine if you're doing some light gaming and you just need some web browsing, you know, or if you're maybe even just trying to build a PC that maybe you can upgrade later, but you slap something in now that'll do good enough gaming for you and will still be functional and usable for a while. It'll get you by for the time. And you know what? If your budget is really, really tight, there's no shame in just going with something budget that can get the job done. That said, if you're looking for something that's going to be more capable of gaming, I mean, the 5500 is not too bad for Ryzen. The 5600 is pretty decent as well. If you're going for Zen 3, the Zen 4 is going to be using a different socket. So like the 8500G is an option on a budget, but honestly, I don't like using some of these G in the 8500 series. They actually are missing some of their lanes. So what the end result is, you actually can't upgrade them quite as nicely as you might otherwise, because if you eventually slap a good GPU in there, you might be missing some lanes, and so you limit your future upgradability in some of those. But like a 12400F, for example, is going to be a very solid processor. It's a 6 base core. It's going to have a bunch of extra processors there as well for the hyper-threading. It's going to have decent base clocks. It's going to game very well for you. It's going to run very well for you. And that is a good entry level. Otherwise, the Ryzen 5 5500 is decent as well. Or even the 7500F is actually a good one if you want to get into a Zen 4. Those motherboards are going to be a little more expensive, especially because you're going to need DDR5 for the Ryzen series, for the 7000 series, the 8000 series, and the 9000 series. You know, if you can afford the memory anyway, then maybe starting off with a lower end processor, upgrading later, not a bad option for you. So we're going to start with the 7500F just because that gives us a base way to continue on. And the reason I would start with a processor first is because next we're going to look at motherboards here. And this is going to hopefully limit us to motherboards that are only going to work with this CPU. So we are now in compatibility mode. And as we can see here, I have B850, B650 motherboards here as an option. I can actually start sorting by price and see some of the earliest stuff that's going to be available that are going to work with this thing. So such as the B850 Eagle Wi-Fi 6, that's certainly an option for you. How much do you want to spend on a motherboard? Well, that's going to really depend on you. I think going with a B650 or B850 is a good option for most people. Those options are going to give you plenty of PCIe lanes, so you're going to be able to put extra GPUs on the, well, extra GPUs. You're going to be able to use expansion cards. You're going to be able to add SSDs to this as well. Hopefully there should be multiple SSD places to put in there. You'll be able to put expansion cards in there. You're going to be able to run full-size graphics cards. That's going to be helpful for you. The size is going to be kind of important, so you're going to need to pay attention to ATX versus micro ATX. That's going to play into what kind of case you're looking for. The good news is micro ATX will work in an ATX case. It will not be vice versa in most cases. So this Gigabyte Eagle, now this actually says it's unavailable at the moment now, so it looks like this is actually no longer available. So keep that in mind. That's certainly going to be a problem when we need to acquire it. Okay, so looking at this one here, this one's now $99. This is a B650M. It's a micro ATX board. We can see here some of the pictures that we get here. It looks decent enough. You've got some expansions for some memory. It looks like you can put 2 SSDs on here. Sometimes you can even put one on the back here. It's got some cooling for the VRMs, which is great as well. You've got some spot for memory. It looks like it has all the ports that you want. Yeah, some decent I/O in the back. Nothing great. It does not have Wi-Fi, so if that is important for you, well, actually, it's got the Wi-Fi spots, but doesn't actually have Wi-Fi on that. So if Wi-Fi is important for you for the motherboard, you're certainly going to be looking for that as a feature. I think that's actually not a bad option if you can. I would actually spend $10 to $20 more on a motherboard just to get Wi-Fi because you never know if you're going to need it. Okay, so we're going to put the Wi-Fi selector on just because I think you really should get a Wi-Fi motherboard if you can. So we're going to look here. what's the closest B650, and I would recommend sticking with the B650. So we've got, here we go, an ASRock B650M. This looks pretty reasonable. Doesn't have a built-in backplate, but that's fine. You've got the Wi-Fi here. You've got some I/O for the video card if you can use the integrated graphics. You've got yourself some, well, you got some extra ports here as well. It's not amazing. This is not the sexiest I/O you're going to find, but this will get the job done for you. So we are going to add this to our build, and that'll be, well, now we got the motherboard taken care of. Now that we've picked the memory, we can now look for DDR kits. Now, this is going to limit us to DDR5 already because we are on a DDR5 platform. So now we can certainly sort by memory and see what kind of memory we can get away with. And memory has just absolutely gotten disgusting. Generally, you are better getting a dual memory kit if you can, because using memory in dual channel is going to help you overall. That said, if you're really kind of on a budget right now, we're talking about a single stick of 8 GB RAM costing $200. This is absolutely gross. We could, for example, here though, grab this Team Group T-Force Vulcan. It's DDR6000, which is kind of what you're looking for, and it's 217, so that seems kind of reasonable. I'm not even checking and see what the CL rating of this. It's CL38, so it's not great. But you know what? That is dual channel RAM. That's going to get the job done. It certainly made our build more expensive, but it's certainly an option. Now, CPU cooler is going to be personal preference, but we're going to go with something kind of cheap here. I really like the Peerless Assassin. It's not only one of the cheapest coolers you are going to find, but it will do a very good job, allowing you maybe to overclock the processor a little bit or get a little more performance out of the clock without having to worry about the thermals. And at $35, it's really kind of argue, so we're just going to grab that. But plenty of other options. Some of them are going to look different. Some of them are going to have RGB. It's going to be up to you what you want in a cooler. All right, so I would not recommend going with anything other than an SSD for at least the boot drive and the core drive of your computer. Now, if we sort this, we're talking about drives as small as 128 gigabytes. That is really not worth living with. You can go with a 256 here. I would honestly recommend trying to go with at least a 512 to get started. It doesn't have to be a great drive. PCI 3.0 will get the job done, and with these drives, being able to add multiple drives later on means you can always grab a second drive later on. Is PCI 3.0 kind of slow in the modern day? Maybe, but for most people, you are not going to notice the difference unless you are transferring a ton of files. And since you're only dealing with 512 gigabytes of storage, you're not going to be having tons upon tons of data on there. If you're doing a bunch of video editing, well, that's where that Gen 4 is going to pay off for you. Honestly, some games that require direct storage are certainly going to improve with that better SSD, but it's not going to make the game so important and so much faster that it's going to be worth spending double, triple, quadruple the price for you, especially if you're looking to build a budget PC. So one of the things you might also want to look at is you'll see some of them have a cache listed here. Now, a lot of these are cache-less drives. Cache drives are going to generally be faster and perform better overall. So that's kind of something worth looking for. But if you can see here, most of these don't have the cache listed. And that's unfortunately a problem with the SSD business at the moment, is you often can't tell whether or not you have cache on these drives. Now we scroll down here, eventually we're getting to drives, and a lot of these ones that mention they have cache, like the Samsung ones, well, they're out of stock at these prices. And honestly, that makes some sense. These 1 terabyte drives, 110, they haven't been that price for a while. We're just going to grab one of these drives here. And as far as these things, I'm familiar with ADATA. I am not familiar with Timetech. I'm also familiar with Silicon Power, so maybe I might spend a little more with Silicon Power versus ADATA. But we're going to grab this ADATA one right here and add that to our build. And now we're up to $635, and we still need just a few more things to build this PC. All right, so I've done some trimming of some specific brands here. We're looking for some Radeons, possibly. I've got some of the NVIDIA cards selected here as well, the GeForce ones that are fairly modern. And then I actually have selected the ARC B570, B580 as well. If you're going to go ARC, I would recommend going with a B series ARC as opposed to an A series ARC. So we can certainly sort by price here. And as we can see, The B570 being the cheapest video card we can find here for $259. It's not going to be a great video card, but it's going to get the job done for you. You're going to be able to play games with it. It's going to be able to play modern games. It's got 10 gigabytes of RAM. It's not as good as having 12. I certainly would recommend trying to go with more gigabytes of RAM, but if you're on a budget, sometimes you just kind of have to grab what you can grab. There are some RX 760s here as well, but honestly, I think I would grab the B570 over the 760. You're going to get a better upscaling support with the more modern ARC. AMD has not done a particularly good job of supporting the 7000 series RXs with some of the newer features as well, and some of that's just because they can. Other options here as well, though, is the RTX 5050. That's actually not a horrible card. Yeah, it's not the greatest card. It's certainly not a particularly high-end gaming card, but the fact that you can get it for under $300 and it's going to have a lot of modern features for it, including some modern upscaling, which you will probably want if you're going to run anything higher than 1080p on that card. So here we go. We're going to select that because that is under $300 still, which I think is a pretty decent price for a video card. Is it perfect? No. Maybe you should be looking for other video cards on here. And honestly, another option for you might have been a 3060. The 3060 will be coming back at some point in time. A good 3060 might actually be a little bit better than a 5050 if you can get it for about the same price, if not cheaper. Now, the case is going to be pretty subjective, but that's good because that means you can pick a case that you like and spend what you want with the case. As long as the case has decent airflow, so generally it should have ideally a mesh front or a mesh side where you can get fans to blow in, ideally some ventilation on both the top and the back to let the air out of, and then a good spot for the PSU, you are going to have all the ventilation you need to cool your computer and get all the performance you need. We have a Micro ATX board, so we could go with a Micro ATX case and possibly save some money. We can go, for example, the Cooler Master box right here. That I don't know if that's really got all the airflow here. I think those might be vents, but they may not be. But other things you're going to want to pay attention to as well is how many fans does it come with. That's where Montech, for example, got yourself 2 fans right there and then 1 fan in the back. It comes with 3 case fans for you. You don't have to buy any other fans at all. They don't know if these are ARGB fans or just RGB fans, but if you want the RGB, that's great. And if you don't want the RGB, you can always turn it off. If you want controllable RGB, you may want to pay attention to whether or not it is ARGB, which is addressable or not. Add something like this to your cart. For $69.99, you give yourself a pretty decent case. Lian Li makes some pretty good cases. Phanteks makes some pretty good cases as well. So they're all pretty solid cases. Finding something that looks like what you want to at a price that's important to you is great. I am really partial to the Lian Li 216 cases and the 217 cases. I've built in a 216 case before. I love the extra fans it came with. Not only that, but they are super big fans, so they actually tend to run quieter, which was very important to me. But honestly, any of these things will work for you, so we're just going to add this Montech right here because $70 on a case seems like a reasonable option. Now, power supplies are certainly going to be another question for you as well. How much power do you need on your computer? You can calculate it out all you want, but generally with something what we're building right now, we don't need a lot of high power. So we can probably do fine with a 650 watt power supply. A 750 would be better and give us some room to grow. We, in theory, might be able to get away with a 500 because we're not pulling a lot of power with that RTX 5050. We're not pulling a lot of power with our CPU as well. Overall, that's going to make it a little easier to find a good power supply. But you don't want to just buy any power supply. When in doubt, look for a reputable brand, and you might want to even check these power supplies on what is called the power supply tier list, because you really don't want to go below C on this tier list. Anything below C is possibly going to be a bomb waiting to happen. And the better your power supply is, the longer your computer is going to last. Power is what, of course, drives all these products, but power spikes can cause problems. So what can you do to avoid bad power supplies? Well, you can pay attention to the efficiency rating, and generally ones that are gold or platinum are going to tend to be better, but that's not always the case. And honestly, some of these ratings are cheesed a little bit as well. But having a brand like MSI or Corsair or even Montech, Asus, Brand names that you can trust are going to be helpful. Thermaltake, well, Thermaltake, you notice this just says 80 plus, doesn't even say gold. Thermaltake has been known to make some pretty ugly power supplies, so I don't know if I would trust Thermaltake power supplies if I didn't know the particular one. Superflower actually is a manufacturer that is well known. People don't think of Superflower as a name brand, but Superflower makes a lot of these for these MSIs and the Azuses and your Montecs and such like that. So Superflower, actually a pretty well-known brand as well. Be Quiet does some good stuff as well. Lee & Lee does some good stuff. We're going to look here. We're going to grab this MSI because MSI, decent brand. It's a 650 watts, so it's a little low, but it should get everything done. One of the things I do want to make sure that this one has before we pick it up at $60, power pins it has for the graphics card. Now this has one EPS 8-pin and none of the 12 high power connectors, so we're going to check and make sure that our video card can connect to this. Or actually what I think we're going to do is we're going to go with this Corsair CX750M. This is going to be a lot more power than we normally would need, but the fact that this is currently $59.99, let's go double check and make sure that it is available on Newegg for that price. It is indeed. It is semi-modular as well, which is kind of nice. You don't need that, but that means you can actually pull off the cables you don't need. But this has a bunch of extra 8-pin and 6+2 power supplies for you. It's got a bunch of SATA power supplies, which is just kind of nice to have. It's got extra power for you to do whatever you need to do, and Corsair makes a good power supply in general. Is this going to be the top tier power supply? No, but if this gets the job done, this will get the job done, and we can get adapters to get to that 12V2 power adapter with this particular one if we need to. So I realize it might be kind of hard to see right now, but I've zoomed in here. This does have an 8-pin connector, so it does not using the 12V2. So this power supply will work just fine with this card. That's a nice thing about the 5050. It's one of the cards that you don't need the 12V2s, so you can actually use an older power supply with this as well. So what do we expect out here? Well, we've got about $1,000 spent, and we've got a modern Ryzen processor. We've got a good cooler for it. We've got acceptable RAM. We've got acceptable SSD, a viable that you can play sort of video card, and some decent parts for it. You'll have room to expand in this one if you want to, especially with a decent power supply. You'll be able to put a better GPU in this later on or a better CPU later on. The motherboard is not a gimped motherboard as well, so it should have some pretty good upgradability for it. It's got all the features we're going to want anyway. So yeah, it would be nice to have some better RAM, maybe nice to get a better hard drive. It's still a decent-ish computer for about $1,000, and you get a chance to build it and put it together yourself. What are some of the tricks that you can use to maybe save just a little bit of money? So one of the tricks is actually if you've got a Micro Center near you, you can actually find bundles, and the bundles are actually pretty solid. So if we go here and we take a look at our Intel bundles, for example, we can take a look at maybe a Core Ultra 7 265KF, give yourself 2 sticks of 32 gigabytes of RAM, and a Wi-Fi motherboard, all for $529. That's actually pretty solid considering we spent almost $500 on our RAM, motherboard, and CPU here. And in this case, we're getting a better CPU overall. Actually, not too bad, and twice as much memory. So you can get some really good deals looking over at Micro Center. Even more on a budget, we check out some of these AMD bundles right here. You can get a 7500 X3D, which is certainly going to be much better for gaming, and a very similar motherboard. In fact, that might be the same motherboard, I'm not sure. You only get 16 gigabytes of single stick RAM, but at $299, you've saved, what, $200? That's actually pretty solid. Don't mind going a little bit older, getting DDR4 and the Ryzen 5500? Well, that can save you even more and at least gets you a platform to work on to get a computer that you can actually use. I wouldn't necessarily do the 5800 XT because at that price, I would probably go with the more modern processor. Yes, you're going to get only 16 gigabytes of RAM here and single stick, but I think the modern processor and the modern platform is going to prove to be more long-term upgradability for you. Or even do like the 7600X or the 9600X. Both are very solid CPUs for gaming as well as other stuff as well. You only get 1 stick of RAM here. If you want to get 2 sticks of RAM, you got to go up to something like the 7700X or the 9700X. But again, now we're at 32 gigabytes of RAM, DDR6000. In fact, that's a better DDR6000 kit than we bought beforehand. And you're spending about the same amount and getting a better CPU overall for your purchase. Not only that, but Micro Center has all kinds of really good deals as well. You might be able to get some deals on better memory. You can often get in-person deals as well. Sometimes I got some open box stuff, and since you can look at the open box, that's nice as well. They've got pretty decent deals on your video cards and other stuff as well. You can get it all taken care of in person, and heck, if you don't want to build the thing, you can actually have Micro Center build stuff as well. This may sound like I'm sponsored by Micro Center. I'm not. Micro Center is just a great store, and if you got one close to you, and they've got a list of a bunch of them here. I've got the one near me selected here in Minnesota, but there are plenty of them all around. And in fact, there's another one opening in Austin, Texas, coming soon. So plenty of them around the nation. Hopefully you got one near you. If you don't, well, there's a couple of other options. So we're here on Newegg, another place that you can order online. Newegg, another great store for getting all this sort of stuff. And honestly, if you're going to be shopping on PC Part Picker, it actually can grab stuff from Newegg, so you may end up shopping at Newegg as well. So one of the things you can search for here is motherboard bundles, and you can see here, you can even put CPU motherboard bundles as well. It'll come up with some other stuff out there for you. So now you can get, hey, here is a motherboard and a processor and some RAM. Look at that. That is 277, and that's got some decent RAM for you here as well. So how much RAM has this got for you? 16 gigabytes of RAM. It is dual channel as well. Pretty decent DDR4, and actually not a bad board for you. Well, Strix is actually a pretty good brand. So that is an Asus brand. Not a bad system for 277. It's actually on par with what they were talking about for Micro Center, maybe a little more, but it is a better motherboard, you know. But if you keep on looking around through here, we can find other processors as well. Here is a DDR5 combo here. Now that again, we're talking 874. You're certainly going to have to price compare and shop with some of these as well. You could certainly limit these things here, but look at this here. This is a bundle. This is a 7600X 5600 with, looks like 16 gigabytes of dual channel DDR4 for 442. So some of these deals not quite as good as Micro Center, but still they're in line with what we were pricing out beforehand, and now you're getting dual channel DDR16 RAM. It's going to be much better overall as well, because this is probably going to be, well, okay, maybe it's the same latency, so it's not going to be quite as good, but you're getting a pretty solid board here. I actually like some of the MSI ones. I've been a fan of MSI for a while. Honestly, the brand doesn't necessarily matter, whatever you're comfortable with. And you get yourself a better processor with the 7600X as opposed to a 7500F. Basically, still have the bones of your system ready to go. But here's the thing. Maybe you just don't want to build the computer, or maybe you're just looking for a good deal. Sometimes looking for these pre-builts can give you some pretty decent options. So we're going to look for pre-builts on Newegg. And of course, you can get pre-builts built at Micro Center as well. In fact, they build them in-house. It's their Power Spec brand. They're actually pretty good computers. I know multiple people who have bought those. I've recommended those. So pretty decent option, and they give you all the warranties and parts as well. Now, ABS is actually the in-house building place for Newegg, so those are pretty decent as well. But overall, you're just going to want to compare the parts here. Now, you're getting an Intel Core i5. Those are pretty decent. NVIDIA 5060, so it's a little bit better than what we had spec'd out beforehand. 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. That's actually pretty nice. A 1 terabyte SSD. And we're at about the price we paid for what we were talking about in building ourselves. So are these going to be the most premium parts? Well, probably not. I think you can kind of see the inside parts here. That cooler is a little suspect for keeping things really cool, but it'll get the job done. Overall, the build looks decent. Parts here, you can actually see all the parts here. So you got a Zotac Gaming 5060, motherboard's an ASRock B760. It's a decent PC. It'll perform as well as the one that we built out there, and the price is just fine as well. Now, you're not going to get the satisfaction of putting it together yourself, and you may worry a little bit about the build quality of some of the parts, but again, if you're already on a budget, looking for some of these pre-built bundles can be a great way to get a PC as well. So in summary, it's not a great time to be building or buying PCs, unfortunately. RAM has gotten stupid expensive, storage has gotten stupid expensive, AI is unfortunately the cause for all this stuff, and boo AI, it kind of sucks. But it doesn't mean you can't build a PC. It doesn't mean you can't improve your PC. It's still, if you need a PC, well, you know what? Sometimes you need that PC. And honestly, if you're willing to spend just a little bit of money, more than like these bare minimums we were talking about, you can get a little more value. The low end, you're making some compromises. It's just kind of where you're at. But that gaming PC that we built together should actually challenge a PlayStation 5, for example, as far as what kind of graphics quality it's going to be able to deliver. You'll be able to play a lot of games on that and play them well. And that's the important part. Plus, later on down the road, you can upgrade that PC, stick a better video card in there. With the video card prices go down and you find a great deal on them. Get yourself some more memory or better memory later on. Heck, with the AM5 platform, at least until 2027 and 2028, you'll probably be able to get brand new CPUs that'll be top end CPUs and slide them in there and get a huge performance on your system as well. So there's a lot of things you can do with a PC that you cannot do with a console, and even getting a base budget PC can be perfectly fine for you. And again, if you want me to build a PC for you, I've got a Micro Center Night Buy, so I can save a ton of money and help pass some of those savings on for you as well. And honestly, it'd be kind of fun to build a PC. I'd do it on camera. You get a chance to see that on a video, and I'd ship the PC to you. And you know what? Hopefully, you would be very happy with your nice new PC as well. But this is unfortunately the reality we live in right now. PC parts are expensive. Building computers is expensive, but that doesn't mean if you love the hobby or you just need a PC, you shouldn't not do it. Now, one of the things I did not talk about was the operating system. And here's the thing, Windows 11, you can install Windows 11 for free and not pay for it. And the only thing you won't be able to do is change your desktop backpaper, and you'll have a little watermark occasionally on some things. It's doable. You can also get some pretty cheap keys out there if you know where to look, and some of the sites are a little sketchy, but most of them are pretty honest and pretty decent to deal with. Is it the best key you're ever going to find, and do you have a possible problem with it? Maybe, but for 20 to 30 bucks, you can get a Windows license. Not that expensive. Or you can even go Linux. Might be kind of interesting. There's a plenty of interesting Linux distros as well. If you're going to go Linux, I would probably stick with an AMD or an Intel graphics card because they are going to have slightly better support, but that doesn't mean you can't go with NVIDIA as well. Overall, plenty of options out there for the budget sector. There are plenty of good ways you can build a gaming PC, and hopefully you found this video helpful in finding ways to pick out some of these parts. Now, you have any specific recommendations, or hey, maybe you have a build, you want me to maybe go over it and see what I would build with it, make a build, give me a budget, or maybe want me to try to fix one of your builds? Build a PC part picker list, make an account, and you can save a link and share it. Send it over to me. I can talk about it, and maybe I'll do a video on it where we talk about a couple of builds. If I get a bunch of people asking for builds, I can critique your build, make more direct recommendations, and try to help you build a better PC. So guys, appreciate everyone. Hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. I'm building a brand new tech channel. I love talking about this stuff, and I want to do more in-depth guides on talking about gear. I've got some ideas about gear, talking about video cameras at some point in time. I love working with tech. I want to maybe look into mini PCs at some point in time. I'd love to maybe build a NAS. There's so many projects I want to start tackling, and this is an excuse for me to do it. You guys want to keep on supporting this channel, hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, the best way to do it and the best way to be here for more videos like this. But guys, appreciate y'all. Have a wonderful day. Until the next time, I'm Tim. This is Cat Herder Tech.